Hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone. Had a stream yesterday, stream again today. Hope everyone's doing good. Hope everyone can hear me. I'll turn that down slightly. Let me know if it's all good. I apologize, my tumble dryer is going on in the background, so if you hear any random noises, that is probably what it is. All good. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I hope everyone is doing well. It has been a while since we've done something related to Drakonym, and I'm really excited to get back into it, if I'm to be completely honest. It has been a while, but, as I say, really excited to be here, really excited to discuss all things Drakonym, and tell you a bit more about what you can expect over the next couple of weeks, give you a few updates on the game, and where we're at. So what we'll do is I'm going to change the format up slightly. I'm going to go over changes and updates in a bit, but first start with the actual topic at hand, which is exploration and resting. So you guys can get a bit more understanding on how resting works, what the resting mechanics are, when you might rest, stuff like that. So we can do that in a second. So how's everyone doing now? How has your weekend's been? Well, your week been? Are you looking forward to the weekend? What's something that's happened this week that has been really great for you guys? I'd love to hear it. Grab what I need. So we are doing exploration and everything else. So we need to go to chapter 4. There we go. Okay. Oh, lovely. Oh, love that's really a buddy walk is lovely. Really supportive community. Oh, that's so good. Had a German friend over until Monday. It was great to see her again. Now just resting and recovering from that busy period. You know what? Fair. When you've got people over, you sort of just need to do all the things, and then now that they're gone, you sort of just crash. It's going to a full festival. We'll test out Bramble Trek on Alchemy. Yes, Bramble Trek is going live in about 2 hours on Alchemy. Very exciting. Can't wait. I will know if you backed Bramble Trek on Alchemy on the backer kit and you're waiting for the code, we need to get the code set up with Alchemy. So you might not get it at 5. You'll get it later on, but it will be sent out. It just might not be today. I have a weekend. I'm pretty busy this weekend. So most likely it'll be Monday for you guys. But I'm going to try my best to get it done before I leave today. But yeah. Cool. Okay, so let's start with... I think before we get into exploration and resting, it's important to talk about why you would rest and where resting will come into your gameplay. So I'll switch over to my screen now so you can have a look. Here we go. So let me know if you can see that. We should be seeing a page with damage and wounds, damage types and healing and stuff like that. So as soon as one person says, yes, I can see it, I will continue on. Yep, dope. Okay, so damage and wounds are one of the more interesting parts of Drakonym because they don't function the same way as, other titles might. Most titles you would see HP, flat number, sort of like a chunk of hit points that you would start depleting until you die. When you die, you start rolling to see if you survive. In some cases, other games it is a different situation. But most in part, when you die, there is something preventing that death until a trigger is met. In a game like D&D, it's rolling 3 death saves and failing them. In a game like Draw Steel, it's going beyond your I believe it's stamina. I need to just double check that. But basically, death is not the end. Getting down to 0 hit points, there is something more for you to achieve before you die. I think it makes sense Obviously, it's essentially plot armor, and I can see why it exists, and I personally do enjoy it in certain situations. But what I think it does sort of introduce is some level of, why do the hits matter? Have you ever been in a game where you suddenly take 50 hit points? You've got a pool of 100. You take 50. That's half your health. That's a lot of damage to take in a single moment. But then you leave the combat and everyone forgets that you even took that much damage. Or you've been brought from full health down to 1. That should at least leave a lasting effect. So, you will all already know this, but Drakonym has 3 levels of health, or wounds as I call them here. It has got light, heavy, and deadly. You can take up to 3 of each type. Probably worth me going to the page where it actually shows. Yeah, here we go. And I can go back to the other one. You have 3 of each type. You have 3 light, 3 heavy, 3 deadly, but you might have more items, and certain kin can increase your track slightly, so something to keep in mind. But most to most, you have 3 in each. When you take 3 light wounds and you take another light wound, that's instantly a heavy wound. And when you take 3 heavy and take another heavy, that's a deadly wound. But it's the same if you've taken 3 light, 3 heavy, they're both filled. You take another light, it just keeps going up to the furthest empty slot. That's the best way to think about it. A light wound just keeps going until it finds an empty slot. In this case, it would be deadly if both of them were filled. If you take 3 deadly, and then take another deadly, that's it, you're dead. There is no saves. Obviously, some classes may say, if you are downed, then you may do X. That's different. But core rules, you die. The reason, I had a lot of people ask me, why though? Why would you do that? That doesn't feel great for the player. Yeah, but it's because death, it should be like doable. It should be reasonable. There are a lot of ways for you to avoid death, if I have to be completely honest. There's resurrection spells. There is a lot of ways to go, I'm dead, but let me come back. Healing potions. There are ways to come back from death as long as you can get rid of a deadly wound. So one of the reasons I did this was because I wanted to introduce a system where the damage you took converted into something else. In this case, scars. So if you take 3 light wounds and don't heal them, you will take a light scar. You do 3 heavy wounds and you don't solve them, or you don't heal them later, you take a heavy scar. And then if you have 3 deadly wounds and then you go off and you forget about them and don't heal them, you will die. Because your wound, you succumb to the scars and you lose your life. It's quite simple in terms of what it's trying to do. So that's damage. That is how it's dealt. There are ways to avoid it. You've got armor, you've got defense slots, you've got healing potions, you've got abilities, spells, whatever have you. There are many ways to avoid it. But that is what the core, I guess, death. Okay, maybe. Are we back? I don't know. It should be back. It might ping the announcement again, though. That's what I'm a bit concerned about. Okay, we're back. We're back. Very nice. Cool. Sorry. Don't know what happened there. What it is. Okay, so now we get on to why you would sort of like look at resting and stuff. So healing wounds, when you take a short rest, you heal all light wounds. When you take a downtime, you heal every wound but a deadly wound. You need to use an activity to get rid of them. So I will talk about what an activity is in a minute, but essentially you can heal all wounds by taking rests, a short rest or downtime. So that's the basic idea. And the other way to do it is to get rid of them via, well, we should have a full stop there, also by doing healing and spells and whatnot. So that's how that would work. Then we get on to basics of adventuring. So time in Akaroth, or time in Drakonym at least, is quite... It's always been a sticking point for me in games about time. It's really hard to manage, if I'm to be honest, because you have to have some level of difference between in-game time and out-of-game time, right? Someone who says, okay, I'm going to do X, might say it for 2 minutes, but in-game it only happens for 2 seconds. You know, that is one of the things that is quite important. Because you need to have that disparity between them. So the way that it works here is a single round of combat is 10 seconds. A minute is 6 rounds of combat. A scene is 10 minutes. An hour is 6 scenes. And a step is 4 to 6 hours. And a short rest is 2 hours. Downtime is 24. So this is quite self-explanatory, and I think this is something that would be recommended you have a look at as a herald, and you try and gauge what you need it for. I cannot hear you now. Sort of like, okay, what is going on with a step? What is a step? So it's essentially travel and sort of like the function of travel inside a gameplay loop. So what I'll do, actually, we'll go through this bit by bit, because I think it'll be easier for you guys to understand that. But does this sort of make sense? Like, a round is 10 seconds, a minute is 6 rounds, obviously 1 minute. A scene is 10 minutes, an hour is 6 scenes. You know, like, the way it works, obviously the translation between numbers and context. Because obviously these are units not very, sort of like clear. Because they're obviously built into the game. They're not built in for real life. So, like, an hour outside of the game is not going to be the same as an hour in game. But the way that a herald might visualize an hour is, oh, it's 6 scenes, right? Oh, okay, you guys can spend an hour doing this. Oh, all right, what can we do then? Okay, in that case, you guys can choose 6 things you want to do. That's going to take about an hour. That is way easier to follow for a group than you guys have an hour, what do you want to do? Because you can't visualize time in games like this. It's really difficult, because something that might take you an hour might take someone else 5 minutes, right? Just how it is. You need to think of the players and their decision making, and it needs to be focused on what they want to do. By saying, hey guys, you have an hour, any player at the table who's followed this list instantly knows I have 6 things that I can do here. They might do different things completely, but because they each get an hour, they each get 6 things they want to do, right? That's the way it functions. So it's quite interesting as a concept. It works very well in practice, because I just say to a group, all right, you guys have got an hour. Each of you pick 6 things you want to do, or as a group, pick 6 things you want to do in the room, in a location, whatever have you. So easy for them to list that out, because they know how much they can do. There's a limit to that. So that's how that functions. So movement, I guess it's important to understand for exploration, right? There are several movement types in Drakonym. There is climbing, digging, flying, shifting, swimming, and walking. Climbing is climbing, going up and down, or left and right on a vertical surface. Digging is going underground, burrowing. Flying is movement in the air. Shifting is teleportation, essentially, but it's passing through solid objects. So when something says, oh, you may shift 6, it means you can move 6 squares, but you're not interrupted by any barriers. That's the basic idea. Swimming is in water, and walking is literally on flat surface. It's your primary movement speed type, and it's the one that is going to be most common for you. So yeah, that's how that works. You then have falling damage. So when you fall beyond the first 2 squares or the first 10 feet, each square you fall, you take a light wound, which means that falling very high, that's death. But falling very low, you might survive that, you know. So there are obviously ways to mitigate that as well. Then you have difficult terrain. which was quite an important one because it was really important to make sure that all of these were balanced. Shifting is obviously the most important, most impressive speed type, along with flying, because if you can shift through things, you can fly away from objects on the ground, blah blah blah. You're really escaping all types of problems, right? And it's partly why in a lot of TTRPGs, heralds or GMs or whoever ban flying races, because it's easier not to deal with the problem of, I'm just going to fly in the air and fire arrows down. Yeah, of course you can do that. But this game, at least, and I believe it is also a rule in 5e. I haven't double checked it, but I believe it's sort of like oh, you can do this. But I wanted to make it a hard rule. So the way that difficult terrain works is you have difficult terrain and it will halve your movement speed. If it is flying, weather effects, such as rain, storms, snow, are considered difficult. So suddenly, flying races have difficult terrain as well. There are other ways to introduce difficult terrain as well, like digging. If someone uses Quake while they're digging, burrowing, they will have to use that as difficult terrain. There's a lot more on how to use this deep inside the Herald's Guide, because you don't need it in the core game. It just isn't going to help you as a player, as a Herald, to really run something super duper unique, because not a lot of players get access to digging as a movement type. The two that are most common are climbing and flying. So I wanted to make sure that you guys were able to follow that a bit more easily. So, you know, swimming, you may make a check for rough conditions. If you're swimming in a tsunami or whatever, or a whirlpool, that's difficult terrain. Your movement's halved instantly. So that's the way that it functions. Flying, you have difficult terrain, instantly balances it down with sort of like movement types. But also you've got to consider that, actually, we'll write this in. Movement, flight inside, flight indoors will also be limited by the area in which the player is. It is up to the Herald's discretion. I'll clean this up later. Oh no, it's T, isn't it? Discretion, if this area is difficult. Cool. So, for example, you might be fighting inside a, I don't know, a dining room, right, with chandeliers and stuff. I would consider that difficult terrain because you're going to struggle to move in a easy way if you're inside that place. But some heralds may not decide that. So I leave it up to them to make a choice. That's the basic idea. It sort of functionally stops flying becoming a problem. So yeah, that's how that works. Cool. Flanking. So flanking is just as it works in most titles. You must both be within melee range of the target and positioned on opposite sides. The effect is that you gain a boon on melee attack rolls against the flanked enemy. Really easy to understand there. And then positioning and grid, you have sizes. So I had to create multiple sizes. It was really important to me that I had this. But we have small, medium, large, huge, gargantuan, colossal, titanic. Yeah, so a lot of size types in this game. It goes from 1 square all the way up to 6 by 6, which is massive. You think about it on a table, that is huge, but in game it's about 30 feet by 30 feet. So yeah, it is quite an interesting way to look at these size types. So yeah, I thank my Tabletop Scotland players for this, because without them I wouldn't have gone into the idea of making different size classes. Most games literally just go up to here. I needed to add 2 more. So yeah. Grappling. Grappling's really easy. So when you want to initiate a grapple, you make a D2 body check. So you might be wondering, hey, what's this new thing, D2? Literally just means difficulty 2. You just need to make 2 successes in order to pass. This is now the reference for every single check in the game that doesn't have a predetermined value. So for example, grappling an enemy usually has a DC associated to it in other games. We don't have a DC system, and outside of the success thing, but general roles inside spells, abilities didn't have this, which meant the Herald had a lot of work to determine how it functioned. Instead, it's just DX is how you need to do it, and it just works. A player can instantly recognize, if you say to them, give me a D2 check, they know that's difficulty 2, but boom, done, right? Sort of easy to understand that. And you'll see this sort of referencing everywhere because it just makes it easy. So, when you are being grappled, you may roll it should be D2 check here as well. D2 check using body or shadow, and then on failure, you're restrained 1 and may spend 2 AP to make another check to break free. So, yeah. That's basically the idea. It's quite simple. Won't go into these because you don't need to know them just now. Right, resting. So, a short rest. At least 1 uninterrupted hour in a safe location. You will heal all light wounds and prevent your light scars. You will regain 2 mana and 2 grit. It should just say mana, just easier. And you'll recharge some of your features and perks, depending on if they say once per short rest. Everyone can take up to 3 short rests per day. The reason for this is because short rest is quite powerful. You clear all your light wounds, you're regaining mana, recharge resources. And I have been in a situation where many players have just kept taking short rests without really thinking about it. And I've never really had the heart to say, no, you can't do that. By putting a hard rule in, suddenly it is limited and they can only ever gain up to 6 mana, 6 grit per day, which at level 1 is your full mana pool. Makes sense. Also, this is just some guidance. A short rest is not just passing time, it's a moment for you to feel like you're recovering. So I urge Heralds to ask questions to their players to try and get them to narrate how their short rest is going. So let me know if everyone understands that, if you're following how short rest works. It's not very big, but yeah, it's the basis for how a downtime works as well. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that was the initial idea behind it. So, yeah. Cool. Okay, awesome. So, downtime. This is the big one. Oh, sorry, got the chat right up there. I might move it over here and then do this so that people can see the chat at the same time. It's quite useful. Okay, so downtime. Downtime is 24 hours in a town, sanctuary, inn, or sheltered camp. It is more about spending your time in a situation with others than being something that is like a long rest, you know. Functionally, they are very similar, but they aren't going to be the same in terms of the way that they work, because a short rest in other games is a long rest in other games is 8 hours. In a downtime in Drakonym is 24. So the reason for this is I want people to do things. I want you guys to be able to do shopping situations, stuff like that, right? You have options for what you can do. There are things called activities. You can take up to 4 activities. Make that, yeah. During this period, you may perform up to 4 activities of your choice, each representing 4 hours. So you have 4 of them at 4 hours, 16 hours. Then you have 8 hours of rest. 16 plus 8, 24, solid full day. That's the reason the works like that. But flat out during a downtime, you get restoring all your mana and grit to their max, removing all status effects except bloodied, clear all of your light and heavy wounds, perform up to 4 downtime activities, clear deadly wounds by spending a downtime activity. So obviously you get 4 of those. You need to spend 1 to get rid of your deadly wounds, because the idea is you either go visit someone to get rid of them, you heal them yourself, You're bandaging up. That's going to take you time. That's why it's an activity and not doesn't just happen. So yeah. And then you have downtime activity prompts. These aren't solidly set in stone because I want heralds to create their own list of options. So you might go to a certain village and the village may not actually have anywhere that you can craft or repair. It might only have somewhere that you could forage and hunt. So the idea is that these are meant to be optional sort of like ideas. One more thing though that is missing from here is we'll change that to camp, and then we'll add this to, because this is quite important. You can only level up during a downtime. So I hear you now. What? No, I should be able to level up whenever the herald says I can. Yes, but this negates the complete issue of, hey, I just leveled up in the middle of combat. Does this mean that my hit points go up now? And do they go up? Do the current hit points also go up? Or do they stay the same? Oh, wait, I've just got this new ability. I'm going to use that immediately. Makes no sense. Narratively, it does not make any sense at all why in the middle of an adventure you would gain a new ability. You haven't trained. You haven't even gone to do the thing that would gain you this new ability. Why are you now able to claim this in the middle of your sort of like travel, right? In the middle of combat. Unless you are a cleric where the god has provided it to you, magic is only an excuse that can be used so many times before it stops making sense. So that's why. During downtime, you can level up. You cannot level up it outside of that. It's just how it is. So, yeah. There we go. Okay. So, prompts. There's a few in here that I wrote to help you, but it's just not something that I'm going to go through because these options are changeable. So you can swap these out as a herald if you wish. But yeah, the basic ideas are still there. So that's downtime. Then we get into exploration. This is from a note from me. These little boxes are usually just notes from me, but Drakonym is a game about the story of your journey, not the pressure of survival. While mechanics for exploration and light exist, they are tools to support your narrative, not restrictions to track every torch or ration. This game is less about counting days in a dungeon and more about telling the tales of your party's triumphs, struggles, and discoveries. That said, if dungeon crawling is your style, the system can flex to meet that. This is about the story you want to tell. It holds true. This game is not a dungeon crawler. There are other better games out there for that. I promise you that. This game is more about you are a hero, you are doing this, your story might be in a dungeon, but this is not a dungeon crawler. That I want to make that very clear. So, light and visibility. Very important stuff for an adventure. There are two types of conditions. There's bright and dark. That's it. These areas are well lit, such as daytime, rooms, magical resources. Dark are areas without light, such as caves, moonless nights, and require dark vision. When you attempt to do something in bright area, you have no penalties. If you try and do something in a dark area, your character are treated as blinded. Actions relying on sight auto fail. It's just how it is. Because again, I didn't want to create, oh, but what about dim? What about the distance of sight? This is not that type of game. This is just about you running the story. It doesn't need to be every little option. Doesn't need a rule. So that's why it doesn't have it. Now, if playtesting finds dim needs to be in here for certain situations, fine, I'll add it. As it is now, it doesn't need it, which is why it's not in here. So that's that. Obstacles. So there are certain obstacles that you go over. Difficult terrain, halves movement, tough weather, may increase travel time, natural hazards. So I would like, this is the thing. Something like fog, I don't think needs a rule in the game to fun, because then as soon as that starts, it starts being okay. What about rainy weather? What about stormy weather? What about this? What about that? The questions start going big. So if you've got something like what's the word? Fog, the herald just decides what you need to do there. I would consider that tough weather, so it may increase your travel time and you may need to make checks in order to see through it. That's it. I don't want to put a rule down, because the moment I do, I need to do it for everything else. And I don't want to bog this game down with too many rules. That's just the way that I see it. So, the journey. When you travel in Drakonym, you don't chart every mile. Your experience is narrative moments. These are called steps. Each step is a meaningful scene on your journey, a challenge, a revelation, a moment of bonding, or a shift in your path. Instead of measuring distance, the herald will set how many steps a journey will take. It's usually 1 to 3, depending on length, danger, or narrative weight. So, each step is roughly 4 to 6 hours. A full day of travel is usually 2 to 3 steps, depending on the pace, terrain, or obstacles. So, here are some examples. You have a local short trek. That is literally just, I'm going to go from this village to another village nearby. And that takes 1 step, which is 4 hours. You've then got a regional journey. So, for example, from Galendale to another village over the river or something. That's 2 steps. It's going to take you 8 hours. Overland travel, say from Galendale all the way to the capital. That will take you 3 steps, 15 hours. But I know that some players don't want to do any of that and just want to get there quickly. You have fast travel as well as an option where you don't need to run the particular step thing. You can just say, okay, fast travel. The reason it says 2 hours is that's how much a player can say that they did. So a player can just say, I did 2 hours of X, or I did something that reasonably takes 2 hours, just so you're not narrating all 16 hours of your travel. Yeah. So each step is a narrative beat. There are 5 types of steps. There's a bonding step, discovery step, obstacle step, rest step, tension step. It is recommended to have a rest not take away from total travel, but implement it into the overall journey. Heralds can balance this how they wish. Guides on how to run steps is available in the Herald's Guide. So, the reason it's very broad right now is because steps are meant to just be, hey, you guys are going to be traveling for 3 steps, and then either you guys can say as players what you want to do, or the Herald can say, this will be a world travel, so which means that you guys don't decide what to do. Instead, they'll say, okay, first one is going to be a discovery step, and you note that down, and you guys go, right, what do we see? And they tell you what you see. All right, there's an obstacle coming up. So it's essentially to allow the Herald to put together how the journey looks, but also for players. If you guys want to say, we would like to do 1 bonding, discovery step, and then a rest, boom, you instantly have an entire journey laid out in 3 simple steps. Right? You go through the bonding, you then find something that is a discovery, then you rest together. Perfect. It's the perfect way to understand travel without bogging it down with roll tables, with random encounters, all of this stuff in a single book. You can do that if you want. That is absolutely fine. But I didn't want that to be the forefront of how travel works. Travel should be simple. It is about the journey, but to be honest, there are certain situations where it's about the destination. So, I mean, I've had this happen in games where you're traveling from X location to Y location because you need to get something. You don't want it to be a fetch quest, and you know the players don't want to do fast travel, they want to do something, but then you're stuck with, you guys are going to be traveling for 16 hours, we're going to have to play this out, because that's just how you've run your games. This takes that away, while still giving you a bit of leeway on how to functionally do it. So that's how steps work. Then we have the clock. In this game, there is something known as the resource clock. Essentially, it is the tracker for your gear, your sort of like, what's the word, torches, everything you need to survive. And the way that it works is you have 4 to 8 segments. You can have more if you want, but I recommend 4 to 8. And each tick represents your torches, rope, warmth, water, food, tools, potions, and general reliability. Herald may activate a survival clock when you enter a hostile or unknown gear-dependent area, you embark on a long-distance wilderness travel, you're cut off from towns or help. So, the Herald may say, as you descend into the Temple of Thorns, the light fades behind you, the survival clock begins with 6 segments, and it starts to tick down. You may tick each clock down as you complete navigating darkness, travel over hazardous terrain, fail checks related, or keep pushing without rest. So this is basically going to be your resources. Each one will represent something that you do, failing checks, something like, for example, you're running through the dungeon and you get chased away and you leave behind your, I don't know, your torches or something. You're suddenly going to lose a slot on your clock for that because you've lost it. You've lost how it functions now. You don't have something to help you in this travel. You're going to lose it. Then you've got ending the clock. When the final segment is ticked, the party is now exposed, and the herald may impose conditions such as loss of torches, warmth, or other effects. So, how you lose segments? Yeah, you enter a pitch dark area, lose light sources, whatever have you, right? I've already gone through that. And then when you hit 0, you have the environment turn against you. All of your checks are done at Bane until you recover. You may suffer light wounds due to fatigue. Magical and mundane recovery may be blocked. You're out of light, you stumble in the dark, scraping your hands, each of you marks a light wound, you know. So you can refill segments by reaching a safe haven, by spending a downtime preparing, resting, or crafting, using magic rituals or special items, and completing a scene that earns you supplies, such as scavenging or trade. Some unique relics and careers may even help the group increase the clock size for future challenges. You don't track items, the clock is your gear status. Players need to ask how many segments do we have left. If the clock starts, it's time to be cautious, and you can suggest ways to recover or conserve segments. We make a shelter from the trees. I can use my knowledge of the wild to find dry kindling. It's meant to extend you beyond without needing to go, I have 6 rations left. What do we do now? It's a way for players to feel like they have something significant happening in the world, without the herald needing to pinpoint every little thing you're doing. It's in the demo, so if you've tried it, it can definitely help you. I know some players don't like a clock. They want to know what's happening with stuff like that. You can absolutely play it like that. The clock is there to aid you. It's a really good tool. I recommend using it. I personally really like it. So yeah, that's Traveler. That is downtime and exploration. So I hope you guys understood that, and I will now open the floor to any questions. Do my glasses. Clock. Okay. Oh, clocks. Okay. Cool. I'll just wait for some questions and then. Yeah, yeah. To be fair, that is true. You do have to experience things yourself before you can sort of understand that. So what happens if the survival clock fills it completely? It's right here. So you have 0 segments left. When your clock hits 0, the party is exposed, and that means all your checks are done at Bane. You have light wounds due to fatigue. You may suffer light wounds, and you might lose the ability to recover resources. So yeah. Cool. How is Bramble Week going for you? Just tried Sanctum Character Creator. It's really nice. It's going great. I'm really enjoying this week. It's been really chill, to be honest. It's nice to think about the game that made all of this possible, to be honest. Yeah. Okay, so that is the functional layout for stuff like recovery, exploration. It's a lot. I will say it's not very easy to get to grip on. Again, all of these things are better when you play them and understand them through play. But it's, yeah, it is a really good way to run a scenario without needing to go through it. But yeah, I like clocks a lot. I'm aiming to talk about clocks a bit more in the Herald's Guide. The reason it's not here again is because the moment I start adding all these extra mechanics in that you might not need, it starts filling up the book and then it becomes a huge book. So yeah, that's why. Cool. Okay, so I have some stuff I want to go over. So a few updates, if you will. So, first off, some changes to the game. I have added in an example page on a built character sheet because this was something that people asked me in the early stages, like, hey, I'm building out a character, do you have any examples of a character sheet that I can look at? I didn't at the time, but the final book will have an example sheet in there. So if you were playing and you were like, oh, okay, I want to, you know, I want to do this myself, then you can do that. There's not really any issue with that. I just realized there's a spelling mistake, so I'm going to have to fix that later, but it's fine. So, another thing is I'm going to note these down as I go through them, just because Okay. Okay, so next thing is the kin all have lifespans added. There was a question I got in the Discord. Really good question. How long do X kin live? I think it's really important for your game as well and for your character building. You need to know how long they can live so you could potentially build out a character based around that. The lifespan of an Adaphane is 160 to 220 years, but contrast to that, you have someone like the Norborn. If this wants to load, who has 35 to 50 years of life. Very different. So yeah, it is really interesting. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't currently have any rules for lifespan merging within the Halfkin. I'm thinking about it. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with it. My idea was just you add them together and then halve it, and then boom, you have the lifespan. But it depends on who your main parent is, right? Like, if you're a Norborn Adaphane, the Norborn part of your body is going to be weaker than an Adaphane who will live for hundreds of years. So my basic idea is that this is going to sound really silly. Divide both. It's going to be maths. I don't want to introduce too much maths, but the idea is, oh, you take the Adaphane, you divide it by 3. You take the Norborn side of it, you divide it by 3. You then add 2 Norborn plus 1 Adaphane. So the main parent has 2 of them, the minor parent has 1, and that's your lifespan. Too much maths, man. I don't want to introduce maths into this game that much. I don't want to do algebra. I don't want to do X and Y's. I just want to play the game. I'm thinking of a way to do it easily without it being too much maths, but we'll figure it out together. It's fine. So that's coming at some point. I will add that in later. Right. Other bits. So character classes. Very exciting stuff, as you all know. The game has... what would a main parent be? What do you mean? Like, do you mean what, a halfkin? Or I'm... Because I've gone over this before, so I'm just making sure that what level do I need to explain it to you at? Like, do you know what a halfkin is? Are you new to this game? Just something would be great for me to understand that. Well, so for example here, if I show you this one, like for this guy, the main parent would be a Norborn because you get all your physical features from your main parent. This guy, the main parent would be a human because physical features come from a human. This one, the main parent would be a Drakari. This one here, the main parent would be a Runebark, for example. But Runebark are a bit different when it comes to stuff like this. For this one, the main parent would be an Adafane. You know, like, it's the primary physical features. Where do they come from? So the way it works is you choose a main parent, you get their core trait and a minor trait, and then you get their appearance, size, and speed. Then a secondary parent just provides you with another major trait. It's, yeah, that's how that works. So, cool. Let's now go over classes. So, all of you know how many classes there are. There are 4 classes and 20 parts, but each class has 5 subclasses. If you understand, so let me know if that has been clear and you understand that there are 4 classes, 5 subclasses each, and then it's up to you. You decide who that is. I don't care. I'm not going to come to your house. You decide that. It is up to the player. It is not up to the herald unless you have specifically spoken to them about this. Yeah. You just decide. Like, no one's going to tell you no, you know. Don't do this as in get the algebra out here. Don't do this. We don't want this. Okay. Anyway, classes. So, we have 4 classes and 5 subclasses per class. So, the Acolyte has Hierophant, Oracle, Pactbinder, Wildheart, and Zealot. The Fighter gets Brute, Champion, Gladiator, and Guardian. The Mage gets Arcanist, Inherit, Performer, Illusionist. Oh god, this needs to be down here. Inherit, and then Performer, and then E needs to go above there. I wrote this in the wrong list. Okay. So, did I do this? Oh god, I'm going to have to change this. I'll do it later. I can't be bothered right now. Anyway, you have Arcanist, Elementalist, Inherent, Illusionist, and Performer. And then you have Veil. They have Burglar, Cutthroat, Face, Infiltrator, and Shadow Dancer. So, yeah. 4 classes, 5 subclasses per class. So, I just want to make sure that's been clear for everyone and that it is understandable how that works. And each class gets either Grit or Mana. So the Veil and the Fighter get Grit, the Acolyte and the Mage get Mana. So just making sure that is also understood. Cool. Okay, so that's 1 yes. It will wait for maybe 1 or 2 more. Okay. Cool. Perfect. Yep, so we got all of them. So, some of you have said, or asked, is it possible to multi-class? Well, the answer is no, you can't multi-class. It's just going to break the game. There's no point. You're not going to be able to multi-class in this. I didn't want it to be a thing, because as soon as you start multi-classing, things break, and I don't want that. There is light multi-classing in the form of your path. So, at any point you can pick a path and take subclasses from that path. Take perks from that path. They just get added to your subclass pool, so you might pick, instead of your subclass, a path. That's the basic idea. You don't need that. But you still might want to play a fighter mage, an acolyte fighter, a fighter mage, a mage veil, or a veil fighter. You might want to do that. But you might be someone who's more used to TTRPGs and is alright handling multiple resources to manage. Maybe you want to do that. That means that you're probably skilled enough to take a gander at advanced classes. So I will, I'll give people a minute to take into the fact that there are advanced classes. So the way that I would look at advanced classes, they are not for beginners. They're just not. I do not recommend someone who is new to this game or new to TTRPGs completely plays any of these advanced classes, because they are very, very tracking heavy. They have got so many deep mechanics that you need to look at more things than just what they can do. You need to track both things. So yeah. There are 4 advanced classes. There is an Exemplar, who is a Acolyte Fighter, the Heretic, who is the... Well, I mean, it's switched the themes up a bit, but the Heretic is the Veil... oh my god, my brain is just going everywhere in a minute. So, the Veil Acolyte, the Spellbreaker is the Fighter Mage, and the Whisper is the... what is it called? The Mage Veil. That's how it is. So, I mean, I'll go from top to bottom. Exemplar is Acolyte Fighter, the Spellbreaker is Fighter Mage, the Whisper is Mage Veil, and the Heretic is Veil Fighter. That's how that is. So, yeah. So, when you play one, you will get a dual resource pool. So, you have them as both mana and grit. You have to track both. You don't get a choice of which one you want to take. You must track both of them. You have a mechanic that defines a class from level 1. You have 5 subclasses chosen at level 1. You choose one at level 1, and then you have an archetype. There is 10 levels of progression. They are the exact same as classes. There is just more that they can do. I will say, they are not more powerful than a class. They are just more resource intensive. So they can do more, but at higher cost. So that's the way that it sort of functions. They are functionally and thematically completely different things. But wanted to sort of show you, we have got some work in progress artwork for each of these, because I literally started working on them this week. And so the art team have been really kind as to work on this as soon as they can. Actually, just because it is hilarious, I'm going to make all of them difficulty 4. Because it makes sense to me. Because you would also get spells and martial exploits. So that's another thing on top of this that you need to worry about. So there's more for you to do. Yeah. But yes, so, well, let me know what you think of this artwork. This is a Ferrovox Exemplar. Oh, it's cool. The art is very cool. Okay, so, the Exemplar is the living myths of Azeroth. They are where fighters are masters of war and acolytes channel faith. The Exemplar embodies both, turning belief into steel and something greater. Their creed is legend: to fight not only with arms but with conviction, so to shine so brightly that others rally to their side and carve their story. Their subclasses are the Dawnbreaker, the Dreadnought, the Gravesworn, the Icon, and the Mythborn. The Dawnbreakers are champions of change. Their battles are remembered as the first light of a new age. The Dreadnoughts embody inevitability. Where others falter, they advanced. Where others shatter, they remain. The Gravesworn turn suffering into legend. Each wound endured make them harder to bring down. Their defiance is a shield to all who stand behind them. The Icon leads by presence alone. They are radiant in chaos. Their strikes rally comrades, and their stands ignite courage. And the Mythborn blur the lines between story and reality. Okay. So, basic idea of these guys is they get both mana and grit, 6. You get 2 of each per level. You'll also pick an exemplar subclass. You will get Living Miracle at your level 1. When you roll the maximum value result on any die, attack, defense, or spell, you may immediately spend, it should be 2, 2 mana or 2 grit to repeat the action. Yeah. So, should be 2 die. 2 dice. So it's like you get double 6s. Boom. You get to spend 2 mana on 2 grit and then suddenly do that thing again. That's the basic idea. So their sort of like subclasses are very much themed around being the best in the company. Like your Dawnbreaker, you are fearless, you're the herald of change, you shatter the dark, you triumph. It's like you are the hero of heroes. The Dreadnought is more about being there and being a juggernaut that cannot be taken down. The Gravesworn is more about taking damage, dealing it back. You do more stuff when you're at half damage. You don't die as easily as others. The Icon is about being the essentially the like a bardic College of Sword type thing, where you are the hero that gets told in stories. You're the one that people want to write about. You're the one that gets followed by a bard, for example. And Mythborn are the sort of legends. They're the people who become legend. They are the ones who do this because they want to become that thing that is told through generations. So they get stuff like Tale or Truth. Once per downtime, you spread a rumor of your exploits. Until disproven, NPCs treat you as if it were true, whether it's with awe, fear, or respect. Like, that is a really evocative, themed perk that you can use. So, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that you can do with these ones. As I say, they're more in like sort of deep than in classes. So, the next one we have is the Heretic. A defiant apostate who corrupts faith into shadowed power, turning devotion into a weapon. And this is the artwork, or the work in progress. Oh yeah, everything has a difficulty rating. It wasn't shown, but all of the classes have difficulty ratings as well, just to make it as easy as possible for someone to sort of pick up this game and go, all right, I know that a fighter is 1 difficulty because it's really easy. A mage is 4 because you have spells and mana to track. A veil is 2 because, yeah, they still have martial stuff, but then there's more things such as if an enemy is at X, sort of stuff to track. And then the acolyte is 3 because they don't have as many spells as a mage, but they still have a lot to track. So it goes from difficulty ratings 1 to 4. The pards go from 1 to 5, just because of the way that they function. But yeah. Cool. So that's that. So we've done the exemplar. Now we are on the Heretic. Okay, so the Heretic. Heretics, I've already said this. You have 5 subclasses. Rooted in rejection. Yeah, miracles inverted, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so cool. So, apostate, blightborn, confessor, false shepherd, and witchbrand. The basic idea is the apostate is open defiers of the divine, who was cast away from scripture. The blightborn carry corruption like they're a gospel. The confessor can extract secrets. The false shepherd cloak themselves in devotion while rotting from within. And the witchbrand are marked by fire and curse, celebrated as prophets, even though their teachings defile the divine. They're very thematic to what they can do. So the apostate, for example, gets... the level 1 heretic feature is when you cast a spell, you may spend 2 grit to corrupt it. You may choose frightened, silenced, or weakened on the target of the spell. So it's just a way to boost your spell up without using mana. You can use grit instead. So it's like blasphemer. That says blasphemer. It's... I didn't even write it down. Blasphemer. There we go. Cool. Yeah. And then you've got stuff like Heretic, Aspartate. You've got Desecration. Once per downtime, after you complete combat at Sacred Site, you may desecrate it. Enemies of that faith begin the next combat suffering Frightened 1. So picture this. You have just finished combat inside a church ground. You then desecrate that church ground. So anyone who is a follower of that god now suffers Frightened 1 against you because they know you desecrated one of their churches and they're already fearing of you. That to me is pretty cool. You know, it's really interesting. So, yeah. Blightborn, they get stuff like, they're like plaguey, they're more sort of like poison, weaken the others around you. So they get stuff like Corrupted Relic. After handling a relic, you may taunt it. Allies who touch it suffer Bane. Enemies who touch it suffer Frightened 1. You know. Confessor, it gets stuff like Blind Sin, Confession. So, Weight of the Sin is the one of these. Once per downtime, after defeating an enemy humanoid, you may expose their crimes. Enemies of that faction or type begin the next combat against you, suffering Dazed. So they hear about the stuff that you've done. They hear about the exploits of one of their own and start to believe it. And they start to go, right, maybe they're right. You seed that doubt into them. So that's one of the cool things about them. False Shepherd is about indoctrinating others into your own, essentially cult leader, but I couldn't call them cult leader. It just felt weird, but False Shepherd sounds really cool. So you get something like Halo of Lies. You can declare yourself chosen and all enemies around you suffer Dazed 1. It should be Frightened. Yeah. So that's how they sort of function, which is quite good. And then you have the Witch brand, which is like meant to be witch branded. You've been told, you said you're a witch, so you've taken it on yourself, and you start to do things like Cursed Prophet. Once per downtime, after preaching to a community, you may instill a false prophecy there. You know, that's the kind of idea behind them. Then we get on to one of my favorite ones. Right, tell me if you can hear that, if it's working. I hate that this keeps happening. Honestly. Alright, let me know. Can you see me? Right, there we go. Jesus Christ. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know what's happening with this. Like, it just keeps happening. I think I need to update my OBS. Probably the thing. Anyway. Spellbreaker. They're the mage fighter. Or the fighter mage, sorry. So, yeah, this is the artwork for them. Very cool. It is a sea elf, if you will. Very nice. So let me know what you think of the artwork. I always feedback these your thoughts to the art team, so anything you say would be great. Art is nice. There we go. That's all we need. We just need art is nice. Okay, so the Spellbreaker is they are the Banes of Sorcery warriors and those who carve wards and unravel incantation with raw will and steel. I will say this artwork is nowhere near done. I wouldn't take this and go, oh, it's missing something. It's not done. It is a work in progress of the utmost possibilities. So trust me when I say it's going to look good when it's done. Again, it looks mundane because it's not got color. These are work in progresses. Please take that into understanding before you mention that, because the art team are working very hard on this. So I don't want them to see this and go, oh, you know, take that with a grain of salt when providing the feedback on it. Okay, so they are disruptors who twist magic into chaos, shattering spells and blades, and with blade and will. They get the subclasses Hex Eater, Null Blade, Rune Seeker, Spell Rend, and Witchbane. Well, I should probably rename that to. Let's rename this because. Witch Hunter will be their new one as well. So yeah, they get 5 subclasses, same as the others. Their first one is Nullbrand. When you hit, it's 2. When you hit with a weapon attack, you may spend 2 mana or 2 grit to suppress 1 magical effect on the target until the end of their next turn. So, for example, they might have cast a spell on them that is going to boost their attacks by plus 2d6, or whatever, plus 2 damage. You then say, right, I'm going to attack them, and now I'm going to spend 2 mana to suppress that for 1 turn. That's the kind of idea behind this. You are not a rune blade or a spell blade. That's not the idea of this. You've already got that in a path. These are guys who take the fighter side. That's the clear idea here. They are not a mage fighter. They are a fighter mage. They take magic things and stop them. My God, I'm muted as well. Jesus Christ. I'm going to run through this quickly and cover it off. The, what's the word? The Hex Eater can eat magical effects. The Nullblade can prevent magical effects by slashing through them. The Rune Seeker can use the runes to enhance themselves, and Spellrend can fracture spells themselves. And then you've got the Witch Hunter, who basically can do stuff like, what's the word? Take on, it's like mages and cut the strings that they might have. So summon spells, witch-based ideas like that. Okay, right, before this dies again, I'm going to show you the final advanced class. This is the Whisper. So there you go. Advanced classes are also linked to the world. They are less so than paths. I'd say they're like, classes are linked to the world as much as I can get them while keeping them broad. Advanced classes are the middle ground between them. So this is the Whisper, a sly vandal of reality who steals truths, weaves lies, and bends perception to their design. Yes, witches are a thing. Witches exist within... I mean, I literally have a game about witches. Comes at midnight. It's all about witches. Yeah. So, right. Whispers. Whispers are basically... they're liars and acolytes. Liars and mages. That's the idea. So they have the subclasses Dream Spinner, Mask Binder, Mind Shroud, Phantom, and Trickster. Right. First level 1 perk. They get Mask DS. When you cast a spell or use an exploit, you may spend 2... It's 2 mana. Why do I keep writing 1? It's meant to be 2. 2 mana or 2 grit to create an illusionary effect that obscures your presence. Until the end of the next turn, you count as unseen if you move 1 square or more. Cool. Perfect. Dream Spinner. You get Echoed Nightmare. Once per scene, when you strike, the target also suffers fear. It should be frightened. Sorry, I recently changed a lot of terms, so I need to update them all. Frightened 1. Cool. Nice. Right, this is by far one of my favorites. This is the Mask Keeper. Equipping a mask costs 2 mana or 2 grit in 1 action. At the start of each of your turns, or before a check outside of combat, roll d3 Soul plus Shadow. On failure, the mask is removed. And you can get the Fool's Mask, the Hunter's Mask, the Phantom Mask, the Beast Mask, Saint's Mask, Mask of Terror, Mask of Lies, Mask of Blood, Mask of Shadows, and then you have Many Faces, which is a mask with multiple faces on it, and it's almost like a disguised self. And here is some artwork of the Mask Binder for you there. So the inspiration behind the Mask Binder was Majora's Mask and the Happy Mask Salesman. Basic idea is you wear a mask, you get a benefit, and you have to make checks to keep the mask on you. Honestly, I'm losing my mind. Okay, cool. So that's that one. Well, then we have the Mind Shroud, who's more about sort of like illusionary stuff to become unseen. So their thing isn't they become invisible, it's they become invisible in the minds of other people. The Phantom is literally as it sounds, it's more ghost type stuff. And then the Trickster is like a jester. That's the idea behind them. God, okay, so that is all of the advanced classes. There are 4 advanced classes, each sort of slotting nicely into the way that the classes currently look. And that is the biggest change at the minute. There is nothing else major except for wealth. What are they called? So, all gold is now called Dravix, because that is the official name for what's the word? Gold in the world. I will say there are other products that still use gold, but they will now be updated in a errata to say Dravix. So yeah, that's that. And I'm very pleased to announce one more thing. If you guys would like me to sort of talk about it as well, I'd love to discuss it a bit more. But I understand if you guys do need to go, and this is going over the time allotted. Okay, so one more thing. Right, so a lot of you have been asking, hey, when is the playtest going live? When is the playtest going live? When can I play with my players? When can I get this book to play with people? What's going on? How far are we at all that? I have a date for you for when the playtest will be live. Would you like to know the date? Okay, so the playtest for Drakonym, core rulebook only, the first version of the game, version 1.0, will be available to people by, I want to say by, because it might be earlier than this, 10th of October. One week. It will be available next Friday. Can you imagine? It's actually available right now. No. I wish. It's not ready. I've just got a lot of stuff I need to do before it's done. Yeah. It is the 10th of October. It'll be ready. By then. It will be ready by then. If it's available before that, I'll send it out before. But 100, like, for sure, it'll be ready by the 10th. I can guarantee you that. There's a few things I need to check and do, but most of it is basically done at this point. So I'm very excited to say. Okay. All right. Right. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to just run through this really quickly. So there are, I don't even know how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51 adversaries also available inside the core rulebook. So, yes, that is that. And I'm really, really excited to share more with you. I am going to go over the playtest next week as well, so you can get a better understanding of it. There'll be a dedicated stream to the playtest, don't worry. But there'll be 51 adversaries. It's currently built out like this. I know it's a lot of text, but trust me, it has made my life so much easier. Originally, there was only 10. When I changed to this layout, I was able to write so much faster. So I was able to get it done because I wasn't editing images, I was editing text. So it was really easy for me to write. So yeah. Anyway, so there will be 51 adversaries available inside. You'll get access to every single class. You'll get access to all 311 pages. You get access to everything in the core rulebook. There's some stuff that isn't in here yet, but I haven't made decisions on it. But every single thing. 51 adversaries, all 8 dragon classes, families, all, I don't know, 8 classes, all 20 pards, every single kin, half dragon rules, every single thing is available. This will be a huge playtest. Really excited. So the other thing I would also love to talk about today, just quickly, is the other thing that will be available is the alchemy system for Drakonym. This is not going to have any content from the book. It does not work yet. System functions inside this. So yeah, let me quickly show you a bit more of this. If it will keep going, I will keep just going until it dies. Right, I'll just delete the character. Characters are built out. There is a pre-made for Bramble. The basic idea is it is not an automation system in like D&D Beyond. You will have to manually do a lot of things, but the basic stuff functionally works. So if I say I want to play as Bramble, and I need to make a roll, and the herald says to me, hey, can you make me a check, please? So I'm just going to move this here so you can see. All right, quickly. So he says, hey, make a body and shadow check. You click body, you click shadow, and you click that, you roll. I'm just going to move that. And he says to you, all right, you've got 3, I need 3 successes. You'll roll it. It'll say that, and then boom, you got 4, target 3, success. Boom. That's it. This will be available to certain backers. Join the Discord if you want to get access to alchemy. It'll be very limited because I don't want to share this. It is a playtest. It is not the game. So if you're interested in running in alchemy, check out the Discord, and I will be taking a handful of people to check this out. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your time today. I'm going to end it there before this dies, but I will be in the Discord to answer questions, and I will do another stream next week. Thank you all. Thank you so much. I love you all, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all later. Bye.